ask the Minister if he's aware of the fact that small businesses and small and medium-sized businesses right around the country are being threatened with job losses, closures, because of rising insurance costs, which are only advised to them at the last minute, which are not documented and detailed, and which means that they're effectively going to be forced out of business.
Conscious of the difficulties being faced by certain small businesses in obtaining insurance, and that a number of such businesses have had to close or are facing closure if they're unable to get cover. I believe that the issue of rising cost of insurance and in some cases its unavailability is linked to higher ward levels, particularly for soft tissue injuries, as well as what appears to be an increase in fraudulent and exaggerated claims. The result of this is that in certain parts of the economy and in our society, such as soft play areas, insurers are withdrawing altogether as they argue they're incurring losses in those areas. A key recommendation of the Cost of Insurance Working Group was the establishment of the Personal Injuries Commission, which was asked to examine, amongst other things, award levels in this country compared with elsewhere. It reported in September and concluded that soft tissue injuries are significantly higher than in England and Wales, and recommended that action be taken to address this disparity through the establishment of the Judicial Council. This piece of work also recommended that this body would become responsibility for preparing the guidelines on personal injury award levels, and that this would replace the Book of Quantum, and so I would become responsible for doing that work. The current position is that the Minister for Justice and Equality has indicated that he hopes that the Judicial Council Bill will be enacted by the summer. It's currently has recently completed committee stage in the Shannon, and alongside this, the Law Reform Commission has included the subject of capping damages in personal injuries litigation in its draft 5th programme of law reform, and this work will begin shortly.
Listening to all of the different measures that are being taken, that have been announced and re-announced and discussed at the various committees. But at the Finance Committee recently, we had the privilege of meeting Ms. Linda Murray, who's the operator of a play centre in her home area. And it's one of many which are now facing, despite no claims, huge increases in their premiums. And really what's happening here, Minister, if I may put it to you, is market failure, market distortion, whereby insurance companies are coming out of the blue and imposing enormous claims increases on people. They've been doing this, for instance, with young drivers in relation to car insurance, but they're now doing this on a very widespread basis to people in business. And effectively as well, it's an attack on our cultural and family life as well as business life in Ireland. Because, for instance, areas like play centres, venues, pubs, music events, sports events, all of the things that we go to and enjoy as Irish people are now coming under attack and possible closure in the case of smaller venues because of the extraordinary premiums that are being charged to business operators.
I understand the severity of the issues that Deputy Burton is referring to. Minister Darcy has outlined the different steps that government is taking to respond back to what I know is a very serious matter, both in our economy and in our society. In relation to two particular next steps that Minister Darcy has referred to, Minister Darcy has now been in very regular contact with An Garda Síochána and the Garda Commissioner in relation to many aspects of this issue, and I have received assurances of how An Garda Síochána are looking to increase capacity in this area to deal with some of the issues that Deputy Burton has referred to there. I and Minister Darcy now expect further public announcements and developments in this area. to deal with some of the issues that the Deputy has just referred to there. And secondly, the Deputy will be aware of the statement that was recently made by Justice Nicholas Kearns. He noted in his second report on the topic of personal injuries and the effect that they have on premia and the various challenges that we're discussing this morning. He noted that insurance industry representatives have repeatedly stated that award levels and costs would come down if claims costs come down.
Okay,
and myself and Minister Darcy are calling on the industry to repeat that statement.
Deputy Burton.
Well, we've had discussions now about the Garda Síochána and perhaps them having a dedicated fraud unit. And we've seen extraordinary cases repeatedly covered in details in the papers where insurance claims have been made, often relating to relatively minor car crashes, and subsequently many of those claims have failed. But Minister, could you advise us, has anyone actually, in terms of your conversations with the Minister for Justice, has anyone actually been charged with fraud in relation to any of these claims? Has any action actually been taken? Because it really is affecting now every stream of Irish life. And it's affecting it in a way that is quite destructive. Children won't be able to run in school playgrounds. Children won't be able to play in play centres. We saw the water parks being charged massive increases in their insurances. So you're talking the talk, but what we're not getting is any sense of a government which is able to comprehensively deal with this. I've read Judge Kearns' remarks. I think Judge Kearns has been very frank and open and willing to reform, but is the government willing to?
Final response from...
To reform. I am aware of the fact that, for example, one sentence has already been handed down in relation to some of the criminal activity that has caused the difficulties that citizens are now facing. I fully accept that this is an issue that is now having a very, very strong effect on the operation of business within our society and the delivery of services and activities that matter to our citizens. I want to restate that in addition to the different legislative measures that are being implemented by government and the work that An Garda Síochána are doing and the expectation that we have now of further activity and commitments in this area, that when all this is in place, and it will be in place, Deputy, that the commitment that those who are leading the insurance industry have given for an adjustment in their premia, if the issues that they are referring to are addressed, that a public statement be made by the industry again in relation to this issue. We will play our part in dealing with an issue that we acknowledge is causing the degree of worry and the degree of harm that Deputy Burton has referred to. And we are fully committed to doing all we can in that area.